At Christmas dinner, my billionaire grandma said, "Still living in the house I bought you." They froze. "Don't live in any house, Grandma." She turned to my parents. Their face turned pale. We were halfway through dinner when Grandma Margaret set down her fork. She looked straight at me. Her voice cut through the room like glass. "Emily, are you still living in the house I bought you?" My breath stalled. My hands shook under the table. "My name is Emily Carter. I'm 26. And in that moment I knew something was terribly wrong. "I don't have a house," I whispered. Mom's smile collapsed. Dad stared at his plate. Grandma's face changed in a way I'll never forget. "Then where did my money go?" "Before we continue, tell me where you're watching from. One detail about your setup, your city or state, and whether you're on the sofa, in your kitchen, or ending a long day with echoes of life. Part 2, cracks behind the Christmas lights." Grandma's question didn't drift away. It settled over the table like cold air. Mom reached for her napkin, her fingers trembling hard enough to shake the crystal. Dad cleared his throat. Too loud, too forced, like a man trying to bury a truth already exposed. Guests lowered their eyes, choosing silence over involvement, as if looking away made the moment disappear. Grandma kept watching me, not accusing, not confused, but concerned in a way I hadn't felt from anyone in years. "You should have a home, Emily," she whispered, and her voice cracked just slightly, not with age, but with betrayal beginning to surface. Dad forced a laugh then, thin and cheap. "Oh, Mother, she misunderstood you," he said, like I was a child who couldn't hold a simple thought. But Grandma's gaze stayed steady on me. She knew I hadn't misunderstood anything. She knew something was deeply wrong. She leaned back slowly, the small movement of a woman who just realized she'd been lied to. I felt myself shrinking again, the familiar feeling of years spent being compared, corrected quietly, diminished beside expectations I never agreed to. Dad pressed on, his voice sharpening. "Emily struggles because she overspends. She isn't ready for property." Mom nodded immediately. "We were protecting your investment, Mother." "She lacks discipline." Their words cut deeper than they intended. I thought of my leaking ceiling, my 2 jobs, my empty fridge, my heater that wheezed like it was dying. I thought of every time they told me to be grateful, to be patient, to stop wanting more. Grandma's face changed like a storm gathering, quietly elegant and dangerous. She turned toward them. "Richard, Elaine," she said softly. "You told me she moved in. You sent photos. You said she loved it." Dad stared at the floor. Mom covered her mouth. Neither spoke. Grandma lifted her chin, her voice steady and devastating. "Where is the home I bought my granddaughter?" Because lies always rot from the inside out. Grandma didn't speak again, not for a long moment, and somehow the silence felt louder than her voice. I kept my eyes on my plate because looking at her meant facing the truth, not just about the missing house, but about the years I'd survived without anyone noticing. She finally turned toward me. "Show me where you live," she said quietly. "Tonight." Dad flinched. Mom froze. Both of them panicked. "That's unnecessary," Dad snapped. "Her place is fine." But my chest tightened because even fine wasn't true. Grandma rose slowly, her cane tapping the hardwood, a sound sharp enough to slice through their excuses. "We go now," she said. "And no one stops me." So I drove home with Grandma beside me, her breathing soft, her hands folded neatly, her eyes on the passing streetlights. She didn't ask questions, she didn't lecture. She didn't fill the silence with false comfort. She just sat with me, which already meant more than anything my parents have done in years. When we reached my building, she stepped out and stared up at the cracked brick walls, the broken light above the entrance, the rusted railing that shook if you touched it wrong. "They let you live here," she whispered, and her voice trembled in a way that broke something inside me. Part 3. The apartment Grandma should never have seen. Inside my apartment I tried to hide the worst parts, the taped window frame, the mold I couldn't scrub away, the bucket catching the drip from the ceiling. But Grandma saw everything. She walked slowly through the tiny space, her fingertips brushing the peeling paint, the worn couch, the draft from the window.